I was 23 years old, making minimum wage, and I had $97 in my bank account. That number is burned into my memory, not because it was rock bottom, I'd been lower, but because I remember looking at it and thinking, this is it. This is the moment where I either figure something out or I accept that this is just my life. I wasn't in a special situation, no inheritance, no help from family, no connections that led to a better job. Just me, a minimum wage job, rent that consumed half my income, and the terrifying reality that I had almost no financial cushion. But over the next year, something shifted. Not my income that stayed basically the same, something in how I approached the money I had. By 24, I had my first $1,000 saved. Not invested in some complicated strategy, just saved. In cash, a real emergency fund. And that first $1,000 changed everything about how I saw myself and what felt possible. Today, I'm walking through exactly how that happened. Not because the story is special, but because it proves something that most people don't believe when they're in that position. You can build financial stability even when you're making minimum wage. It's not about earning more. It's about changing how you think about what you have. The reality check that started everything. I was broke, and I was tired of being broke. Not tired in an abstract sense. Tired in the way where you're checking your balance before every purchase because you're genuinely scared you might not have enough. Tired in the way where an unexpected expense creates panic. I couldn't keep living like that. So I did something that sounds simple, but I'd never actually done before. I looked at exactly what I was earning and exactly what I was spending. Income minimum wage was $7.25 per hour back then. I was working about 35 hours per week. That's roughly $250 per week before taxes. After taxes, roughly $200 weekly, or about $800 monthly. Expenses. Rent was $350 monthly. Food was running about $120 monthly because I was eating out constantly. Convenience food, fast food, things I didn't need to be buying. Phone was $70. Transportation was a bus pass at $60. That was for $180 on just the essentials. I had $320 left. And I was saving nothing. $0 monthly. The $320 was disappearing. I couldn't tell you where it was going. It just went. That's when I realized, I'm not poor because I don't earn enough. I'm poor because I don't know where the money's going. The first shift. Tracking actually matters. The first thing I did was track every single dollar for an entire month. I mean everything. Every coffee, every snack. Every dollar spent on things I didn't remember buying. This is not fun. It's boring and it's uncomfortable, but it's the most important step. After 1 month of tracking, I realized where the $320 was going. Fast food and eating out. $120. I wasn't aware I was spending this much, but when I tracked it, it was obvious. Convenience purchases. $60 on stuff at convenience stores. Energy drinks, snacks. Things I didn't need. Streaming services I'd forgotten about. $35. 3 subscriptions I wasn't using. Impulse. Spending at stores. $50. Clothes. Random items. Things I thought I needed. Random stuff. $45. Just things that didn't fit a category. Total unnecessary spending. $310. I had identified $310 monthly that was not going to rent, food I needed, or transportation. It was just disappearing. That was the moment something clicked. I'm not broke because I don't earn enough. I'm broke because I'm spending money I don't have on things I don't remember buying. The strategy: start stupidly small. I made a decision. I was going to save whatever I could. Not a big goal. Not save $500. Just whatever was left after I paid my obligations. But here's what actually changed. I cut the unnecessary spending. No more fast food. I started cooking. Rice, beans, chicken, vegetables. Cost about $30 per week for all my meals. That freed up $90 monthly. I canceled the streaming services. That freed up $35. I stopped the convenience store runs. That freed up $60. I stopped the random impulse purchases. That freed up $50. Total freed up, $235 monthly. That sounds like a lot, but I wasn't earning more. I was just redirecting what I already had. I took that $235 and I set up an automatic transfer every Friday when I got paid. $50 automatically went to a separate savings account before I could spend it. $50 a week, $200 monthly. It sounds small, but that's the point. Most advice says you should save 20% of your income. At minimum wage, that's impossible. $50 weekly? That's actually possible. Why small worked when big would have failed? Here's why starting with $50 weekly instead of save as much as possible actually worked. I could sustain it. I wasn't depriving myself to the point of breaking. I was just being intentional about what I spent on non-essentials. It was automatic. Every Friday, before I had the chance to spend it, $50 moved to savings. I didn't have to decide to save. It just happened. It was visible progress. After 2 weeks, I had $100. That felt real. That felt possible. After 4 weeks, I had $200. The momentum started building. If I'd tried to save $150 weekly, I would have lasted 2 months and quit. The deprivation would have been too much. $50 weekly was small enough that it was sustainable, but large enough that it actually added up. The psychological shift that mattered more than the money. Somewhere around month 4, something mental shifted. I was hitting $400 in savings. For the first time in my life, I had a financial cushion. It was small, but it was there. My relationship to money changed. When I didn't have the cushion, every expense felt like a threat. The washing machine might break. The car might need a repair. A medical expense might come up, and I'd have no way to handle it. With $400, I could absorb something. Not everything, but something. That $400 removed a layer of anxiety I didn't even realize I was carrying. I stopped checking my account 17 times a day. I stopped having stress dreams about money. That psychological shift made the saving easier, which made me more disciplined about spending, which freed up more money to save. It was a positive feedback loop. The money made me feel better. Feeling better made it easier to maintain the discipline. The discipline produced more money. The transition to $1,000. Month 6, I hit $500. By that point, I'd established the rhythm. The automatic $50 transfers were just part of my life. I'd gotten used to cooking instead of eating out. I'd gotten used to saying no to impulse purchases. It wasn't hard anymore. It was just normal. Month 8, I hit $600. Month 10 hit $800. Month 12, I hit $1,000. 1 year from that moment of looking at $97 in my account, I had $1,000 saved. Not through some complicated strategy, not through earning more, just through 1. Tracking where the money was going. 2. Cutting unnecessary spending. 3. Automating savings. 4. Staying consistent. The thing nobody tells you about saving on minimum wage. The reason this story matters is because everyone tells you it's impossible. They say you can't save on minimum wage. The math doesn't work. The math doesn't work if you're trying to save big. It works fine if you're starting small. $50 a week on minimum wage is absolutely possible. Most people just don't do it because they don't think it's worth doing. But that $50 a week is the foundation. That's what changes the trajectory. The person who saves $50 a week and turns that into $1,000 in a year has momentum. They have a feeling of control over their finances. That feeling is more valuable than the $1,000 itself, because that feeling creates discipline, which creates more saving, which creates more security, which creates options. I was 23, making minimum wage, with $97 in my account. 1 year later, I had $1,000. I didn't get rich. I didn't solve all my problems. But I went from feeling completely trapped to feeling like I had options. That shift didn't come from earning more or from luck. It came from looking at what I actually had, cutting the stuff that wasn't serving me, and being consistent about redirecting that money to savings. If you're in that position right now, broke, minimum wage, no safety net, know that it's possible to get out of it. Not quickly, not without sacrifice, but possible. Start with $50. $50 a week. That's something everyone can do. Build it to $1,000. That's the breakthrough moment. That's when you stop being trapped and start having options. After that, everything changes. You don't need to earn more to build financial stability. You just need to be intentional about what you have and consistent about redirecting it. It's that simple. It's that hard. It's that important.